Greetings, Exile. It's me,
Mario!
Not that one. But the guy who continues to make off-meta trash builds which nobody, literally nobody, asks for. I'm back with final update for yet another abomination of a build. This one is a bit different than my usual trash builds, which are, typically based on armor and block and stuff like that. This one is a pure evasion build, something which I have never tried in PoE 1 yet alone PoE 2. And the best part, this is the first time ever I've played a class that is not a Titan, and it's been like a whole year since PoE 2 came out. So let's just say, after a whole year, I've stepped out of my Titan bubble. Making this build was not an easy task. Everyone who saw this build said that it won't work, that it sucks, that the ice version is just better, that I should not be forcing something which might fail. But for me, it was more about the fantasy than making a one-shot meta build. So I wanted to make a Bleed WereWolf build, so I made a Bleed WereWolf build. Now, I think I've blabbered enough about my experience with this build, so let's just move on to the inside section where I will explain the concept and mechanics behind this build. Entire build revolves around the Crimson Assault keystone, so let's start with that. This keystone causes any bleeding that we inflict to become aggravated. Despite being the easiest way to aggravate bleeding and even receiving a massive buff this league, it's still one of the most underrated and underused keystone. Now, why that's the case, you might wonder? Well, it has a downside. It sets the base duration of bleed to 1 second, which is normally 5 seconds. And given how the bleed works, most people just assume that this is just a bait keystone and serves no purpose at all. Well, they can't be any more wrong. In past, I made a video explaining in detail how to fully utilize this keystone, and in this build, I have applied that exact logic. The key thing to understand here is that it sets the base duration of bleed to 1 second, not that the duration of bleed is only 1 second. This means we can still increase this duration by scaling bleed and ailment duration modifiers, and that's exactly what I've done here. I have over 100% increased bleed duration, which means I have over 2 seconds bleed duration. This is more than enough for me to consistently keep dealing damage with my pounce and cross slash combo. The combination of these two skills is what really makes this build work. So let's talk about them. Let's start with pounce, which is a pretty straightforward skill. You leap forward towards your target and mark it with Predator's Mark. This mark causes them to take increased damage based on how many units are near them. After that, we have cross slash. When you use this skill, you strike in a cross pattern in front of you while leaping backwards. And if a marked enemy is hit by this skill, the mark is immediately consumed, and the skill straight up deals double damage. And since cross slash has high attack damage scaling and only deals physical damage, it becomes the perfect skill for bleed. Now, before we move on to the next section where I will talk about the rest of the skill gems and their supports, I would like to tell you about my reason for choosing Amazon for this build. Although I could have made this build easily on a Titan or even a Druid, I wanted to play something different this time. I wanted to try something which is not as tanky as a Titan or a Druid. Plus, I also wanted to experiment with right side of the tree. This left me with two choices, either Blood Mage or Amazon. I tried them both, but Blood Mage did not feel as good as Amazon. While Blood Bath from Blood Mage has huge scaling potential with elemental damage, it still requires a skill which has most or all of its damage converted to elemental damage, and WereWolf only has Lunar Assault and Lunar Blessing in this regard, and both of these skills have much less attack damage scaling compared to Cross Slash. And overall, Amazon has simply better ascendancy nodes for making a pure physical bleed character. Predatory Instinct provides 50% more damage against enemies with open weakness. Critical Strike. By the way, what a creative name, GGG. This node grants overcapped accuracy as additional critical hit chance, making it much easier to make a critical bleed build. Big crits equal to big damage equal to big bleeds. Well, Intrigue. Once again, what a creative name. This node allows us to take full advantage of a powerful physical weapon just by stacking accuracy on it. Lastly, we're Stalking Panther. While this node does nothing directly for bleed, it still provides us a lot of freedom in choosing our chest piece, as this node doubles the evasion from our boots, helmets, and even gloves. This means we don't need much evasion on our body armor. We got Shred linked to Rapid Attacks 2, Arm Break 3, Rage 3, Life Leech 3, and Uruk Smelting. Besides Cross Slash and Pounce, this is the only skill that you will use the most, as it quickly breaks armor, builds Rage, and is the only source of Life Leech in this build. After that, we've got Lunar Assault linked to Ancestral Call 2, Rapid Attacks 2, Rage 3, Defy 2, and Freeze. By the time you reach endgame, this skill will serve minimum purpose. It is still nice to quickly freeze rare and normal enemies. Next, we've got Pounce linked to Charge Mark, Mark for that 2, Mark for Siphoning 2, Eternal Mark, and Holy Descent. If you like, you can replace Holy Descent here with Brutus Brain, but I prefer Holy Descent as it reduces the effect of annoying curses like Temporal Chains. After that, we've got Cross Slash linked to Overextend, Exploit Weakness, Brutality 3, Blind Side, and Atalu's Bloodletting. If you like, you can replace Atalu's Bloodletting with Heavy Swing, as it provides like 5% more damage, but then you must get Mana Leech in this build. Then we've got Lunar Blessing linked to Cooldown Recovery 2, Prolonged Duration 2, Cunning Strike 2, Blind 2, and Efficiency 2. This skill is gonna be your main clear skill for mapping. Use it as soon as you reach max rage. One more thing, since Lunar Blessing converts 100% of physical damage to cold, it cannot bleed on its own. So we add some extra physical damage to it through Material Solidification node. Lastly, we got Archaic Howl linked to Raging Cry, Deep Freeze, Echoing Cry, Second Wing 3, and Bhaital's Vengeance. Pop this skill whenever you feel like it. It will quickly generate rage and freeze any enemies that are primed for freeze. For persistent buffs, we use Herald of Blood, Wind Dancer, War Banner, and Savage Fury. Herald of Blood and Wind Dancer are utility skills here, as Herald of Blood improves clear, meanwhile Wind Dancer improves our defense. On the other hand, War Banner and Savage Fury both are damage boosting skills. Both provide more damage and attack speed, and you even generate Glory and Fury in the same way. So you can use these skills together for a massive damage boost. Most of the gear that I'm going to show you is self-crafted. And given how cooked crafting is in this economy, I don't think I can ask anyone to craft all of this themselves. Now can I? So just try your best to look for the specific modifiers that I'm going to point out. Let's start with the weapon. This is the result of a very lucky ED combination and an even luckier Exalt Slam. And I highly doubt anyone has already crafted a weapon as stupid as this one. But don't worry, you can craft a slightly inferior version of this weapon just by following the steps I have available on my Mobilitics guide. Just make sure to socket in 2 accuracy ruins and use Spiny Talisman as base for crafting. For helmet, look for as high evasion rating as possible, with at least tier 2 reflection rating and a resistance. Make sure to socket Coleman's case into it. For gloves, look for high evasion, deflection rating, and at least +2 to melee skills. For boots, look for very high evasion, resistances, deflection rating, and at least 25% movement speed. For amulet, look for one with maximum life, resistances, 50 spirit, and at least +2 to melee skills. Make sure to anoint it with Careful Assassin for extra critical chance. For belt, look for one with maximum life and lots of resistances. You can also use the unique belt Vislatha's Coil if you want more damage in the build. Just make sure it has at least 2 charm slots. For rings, use Venopuncture alongside a rare ring. Try to get a max roll Venopuncture with strength corruption if possible, and make sure to quality it with physical catalyst. For For the rare ring, look for one with high maximum life and lots of resistances. Lastly, for our body armor, we're going to use Warrior Invictus Grand Regalia. This is one item that I would actually suggest that you try to get the exact modifiers as I have. Look for resistances, global defenses, and maximum life. And if possible, look for a fifth socket. I've socketed Chaos Soul Core and multiple Life Soul Cores into it, but you can socket whatever you prefer. For this build, I'm using 3 jewels. 2 of them are rare Time Lost Ruby jewels, and one is a unique Megalomaniac jewel. Let's start with the rare jewels first. Both rare jewels have very similar modifiers and are extremely important for this build, as they provide a lot of bleed chance and bleed duration. I've socketed one of these near freedom of movement and the other one near struck through. You should look for large radius, small notable bleed chance, and notable bleed duration. For the fourth modifier, you can choose whatever you like. For now, I just have skill speed and skill effect duration. Both of these fit perfectly in my build. From the Megalomaniac jewel, I have Bloodletting and Movement of Truth as allocated taunts. Out of these, Bloodletting is by far the most important, as we need it to cap our bleed chance. However, these jewels can be extremely expensive, so I have a few suggestions in case you cannot afford one of these. One of the things that you can do is anoint Bloodletting on your amulet. But with something that you don't want to do, you can simply socket in a Bleed Soul Core into your weapon, as it will have the same effect. I also have assigned a few weapon set points in this build. Weapon set 1 is assigned to Mark and Critical Strike knots, and weapon set 2 is allocated to Freeze Build Up knot. If you like these kind of off-meta trash builds, make sure to complete all the formalities by liking, subscribing, and even slashing that notification bell. And if you're foolish enough to follow this build, make sure to check out my mobile tips guide for a smooth leveling experience. As always, thanks for watching Exile.